Okay, here we go. Get woke, go broke. Terminator Dark Fate bombs at the box office. Well, this is yet another episode of mine, me being brutally honest without any worry about being silenced or guilt trip into thinking I'm doing or saying anything wrong to society. If you like what I have to say, please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment, and share with your friends. Just, get the word out there, because there's not a lot of YouTubers out there that are ballsy enough to say what's supposed to be said and what most of you are probably thinking, but just too afraid to say it. So, as you all know, Dark Fate is going to have a dark end. So, the still yet to be disproven axiom, get woke, go broke, chalked up another win for itself this weekend with the underwhelming box office performance of the ultra-feminist Terminator Dark Fate. Despite the return of producer James Cameron and the reunion of Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger, Forbes reports that the sci-fi action sequel pulled in a horrific $10.6 million on Friday and is now tracking for a lousy $27 million opening weekend on an inflated budget of $185 million, not including another $100 million in marketing costs. That makes it the lowest profiting Terminator in the franchise's history. Forbes has more, actually. Terminator Dark Fate faced Judgement Day once again yesterday, earning just $10.6 million on Friday. The sci-fi sequel was the third attempt to revive the Terminator series in a decade. McGee's Terminator Salvation, which in fact, in my opinion, it wasn't that bad, and I'll explain why. A Future War sequel starring Christian Bale earned just $125 million domestic at a $375 million on a $200 million budget. Alan Taylor's Terminator Genesis, a time-twisting retcon that paired Schwarzenegger with Emily Clarke and Jai Courtney, earned $89 million domestic and $441 million worldwide on a $155 million budget, including $113 million in China. As if we give a shit what China thinks. So, how did this happen? How could one of the most beloved sci-fi action franchises in movie history become such a flop? According to Society Reviews, Terminator Dark Fate flips everything people loved about Sarah Connor's story on its head in the name of third-wave feminism, rendering the events of T1 and T2 meaningless. Let's not beat around the bush. Terminator Dark Fate is an unoriginal disgrace on just about every level. The very fiber of this film comes off as someone who is ashamed the foundation of this franchise does not fit their current day intersectional feminist worldview. So they decided to change it by repealing and replacing everything they felt was problematic with a more progressive friendly element. Let's start with John Connor. The character, who is the primary protagonist of the Terminator franchise, is killed minutes into the film and is completely removed from the equation, only to be replaced by the new hero of Daniela Dani Ramos. This is why progressive think tanks are killing cinema and entertainment as we know it. Because in the world of intersectionality, the only thing they see is a white male action star who just doesn't fit the bill of the modern Hollywood diversity and inclusion agenda. So, he must be replaced. If you thought it was bad enough that they made John a villain in the last movie, the progressive gods decided it was time for him to die, thus rendering the plot of multiple films completely and utterly useless. Brutal. And even the film critics agree, awarding the movie a tidbit of 69% on Rotten Tomatoes with a current IMDb score of just 6.6. Aside from the politics, the consensus is that Terminator Dark Fate treads no new territory and treads it rather lightly. There are more than enough ingredients here to cook up one rousing and thought-provoking sci-fi thriller. Except this time around, they're just serving up overcooked leftovers. The visual effects are constantly the strongest part of Dark Fate, but they're in the service of a blockbuster that is relentlessly in its one-note intensity. Unless hidden in the bowers of Hollywood lies an eager filmmaker with a fresh take on the classic, the Terminator franchise has truly met its judgment day. See, I don't understand that those were articles, very well written, by the way, and I'm glad that the Daily Wire did it, because there's not enough people out there with with an honest bone in their entire body. And there's a lot of truth to this, and it just comes to that point where it seems to me that now Hollywood, as well as TV execs and all these other networks and stuff, I think they're in the business of not making money, because have they not learned anything from 2016? I mean, think about it. What did we get on 2016 that was supposed to be some sort of reboot to restart an entire franchise, or possibly even a trilogy? We have the Ghostbusters with Melissa McCarthy and all the other losers from Saturday Night Live. That movie flopped big time. And it's not just the fact that it's a feminine, protagonist-led cast. Because there's lots of movies out there that many of us males here in real life actually do enjoy watching. Okay, we don't mind there being female protagonist heroes that can kick male butt. Of course not. As a matter of fact, we don't even expect them to be, sexy clad, wearing underwear, flashing, or anything like that. Or as even a matter of fact, big breasted. As long as they can kick ass and the story's good, we don't really care what gender you're from. We just want good storytelling, not political identity bullshit. Because basically that's what it is. Oh, now they're trying to push the feminine or the feminist agenda onto everybody else with the whole anything you can do, I can do better. Because basically that's what it is. Okay? We've already seen many female-led action films. Many of them. Okay? So it's got nothing to do with the movie being led with a female cast. It's got everything to do with the way that they wrote the story. They just said it right there. John Connor is killed within minutes of the film's intro. The very character to whom the whole story is based around. The leader, the savior of humanity in the revolution against the machine army. All of a sudden, now he's killed. Why? Just to fit the female narrative. Just to fit the feminist narrative. It's stupid. Not to mention the fact that the very person that is also behind this whole thing, James Cameron, who is a huge ass kisser, and a very hypocritical one at that, right now he's probably in his $1 million home right now and wondering to himself, holy crap, I really screwed up. I better not do this on the Avatar movies, because quite frankly, Avatar, it has already a female-led story, okay? It already has a female-led story, and I don't even mind it. Like I said, just make a good script, direct it well, and it'll be fine. No one's gonna give a shit about no fucking gender. We just want good storytelling. That's all we want. But if any of you actually look up the history of how after Judgment Day, James Cameron, even after all the other Terminators movie before Dark Fate, he would be promoting it, shamelessly promoting it, okay? And when the movies didn't actually quite reach that level of, of popularity or the engross venue or anything like that, he would actually take back his promotion of that film and actually say, I did it because of my friends. That being Arnold Schwarzenegger and who else was involved with the projects. Now, to be quite honest with all of you guys, I think the movie should have stopped at Judgment Day. Because it doesn't make any more sense right after that. Okay? Because everything was destroyed. The Terminator that was sent back by John Connor was destroyed when he lured himself into the melting metal and all that stuff, and you see him with his thumb sticking up. They got rid of the arm that was left over from the first part, and then they destroyed the brain, which is that microchip that you see them toss in there. Not to mention the fact that the very person, the very engineer behind Skynet or Cyberdyne, was killed. Well, he didn't kill, but he actually died heroically when he found out what he was causing or what was about to happen if he kept participating in that project. The movie should have ended right there. No more, no less. There shouldn't have been a third. There shouldn't have been any. You know what? Just to be honest, there shouldn't have been any more movies right after the second part. To be honest with you. Now, I do like the one with Christian Bale because it gives us another take on the world of Terminator. But now we get the perspective of what it's like in the future while they're fighting the machine army. So that one should have actually had its own trilogy going on there. They can't really connect that one with the other two. It should have been a franchise of its own. To my opinion, it should have been a franchise of its own because it's just John Connor now. But it's not the Arnold Schwarzenegger Terminator either. That should have had its own story. That should have had its own trilogy until it's all over, until there's nothing left of Cyberdyne or Skynet. But now with the Genesis movie, which wasn't that bad to be honest with you, I mean, it was just a little bit, it was too campy for my taste. It was okay. Dealt a little too much with the whole theory of time travel, a little bit too much to where it's almost completely unbelievable. But it was still, by comparison to Dark Fate, better. Because it really was. It was a lot better than Dark Fate. Now, having said all of those things, I still insist it should have stopped at 2. But since many of us can't get enough of the Terminator, well, I guess they could still keep trying to milk stuff out of its audience, out of the fan base for the whole Terminator thing. But, I mean, if you're going to do it right. Don't try to base yourself off the current events or what's currently in fad. Okay? Because you're going to lose $10 million. You would think that a movie that is directed towards feminists would have made a lot more money, considering the fact that these feminazis think that they're so great, and so many of them, that they practically outnumber everybody else. But this just comes to prove yet again that the feminist agenda is worthless. It brings in no value. There is nothing good about it. I'm all for the equality thing. Yeah, sure, of course I am. But like I said, you gotta do it right. Okay, you gotta do it right. We already had a female protagonist story-based Terminator thing on the Sarah Connor Chronicles. We already had that. And it wasn't that bad, to be honest with you. It was actually kind of good. I saw a couple of episodes, and I didn't find it to be, I don't know, irritating or anything. Kind of like Dark Fate actually ended up being. Changing up the story completely. Oh, well, you see, now it's not about John Connor. It's about Daniela Ramos. Because we said so. And even though it doesn't make sense, but because we said so. Because she's Hispanic and a female. So if you think about it, there's actually 2 agendas behind all of this whole thing. But it's a piece of crap. And quite honestly, I don't even think it needs anybody to boycott it, to be honest with you. And it doesn't even need bad reviews from everybody else, because the movie already spoke louder words in itself with the way it was presented to everybody the very first moment that the first trailer came out. I mean, Sarah Connor, according to the third part of the franchise, died of leukemia. Only to come back because now they want to erase all of those other Terminator movies from existence. I mean, Sigourney Weaver of Aliens had an insanely good concept on wanting to continue the Alien franchise by fixing or repairing the damage done by Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection. That's a female protagonist-led movie, by the way. And everybody loves that one. Everybody loves Sigourney Weaver in that film. There is no feminist agenda, but it is a woman kicking ass. And we have no problem with that. And you didn't see her strutting her ass or anything. because it's a good story. And she wanted to repair the damage done by the third and fourth part. But, you know, Ridley Scott, I want to make my movies first, actually ended up damaging it more than it did. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is, to be honest with you, with Hollywood and TV, networks, that they just don't seem to get it. I mean, I guess they think to themselves that pretty soon everybody else is going to start saying, if you can't beat them, join them. But they're actually in the wrong into believing this, because we're not ever going to join them. They could keep tossing millions of dollars away in the trash practically, trying to figure out what it is exactly that they're supposed to be doing, but it's not going to be helping out their cause, not now or ever, because we're not into it. We don't like that idea of them having to replace everything with some sort of feminist agenda, or any other kind of agenda for that matter. Movies weren't meant to be there to put us in a situation where we're being reminded of what is going on right now in society as a whole. They're supposed to be there to distract us, to keep us out of the whole reality, at least for the hour or 2 hour maximum that we're allowed to. But no, we're being returned once again to a situation of a problem that to this day is still consistently bothering everybody. It's like a fly. You try to swat at it, it's an insignificant nuisance, but it's still irritating nonetheless. So this movie doesn't need anyone to boycott it, like I said before, because it already did it on its own. And there's going to be a lot of other people out there, a lot from the MSM, like the mainstream media, and other bunch of fucking stupid retard social justice warrior NPC assholes out there trying to blame the fans for how shitty the movie did. But if anybody's to blame, it's them. If they really wanted to make another Terminator movie, they should have kept it as is. They shouldn't have added anything that needed to be added, and they definitely shouldn't have subtracted anything from it.
Great, I can use this.
So, if you like what I had to say, and you agree with me that Terminator Dark Fate was a huge waste of time, money, effort, and resources, please leave a comment on the bottom. If you saw the movie and you found it to be entertaining, well, do you mind explaining to me what was it in the movie exactly that you found good that, quite frankly, a whole bunch of other people really didn't? Because, I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. And, I'm just one of few YouTubers out there with the balls to actually call things out for what they are. And, yeah, just enjoy your time. And, Dark Fate has sealed its own end.